In this video, we're going to find out a little bit about how the Numbiano works, and we're going to unlock one of the true secrets of understanding and playing music: relative pitch. Before we look at how the Numbiano communicates relative pitch, it's important to understand the term absolute pitch. All musical instruments are able to play repeatable, universal, well-defined pitches. These pitches are known as absolute, and they're given unique letters to define them. The concert pitch of A, for example, has a frequency of 440 Hz. The sound wave goes up and down 440 times in 1 second, and it looks like this on the musical stave. To distinguish it from other higher or lower A's, it's called an A4. Now, it's the task of the musician to learn where this absolute pitch is on their instrument so that when they see it notated on the musical stave, they can quickly recall how to play it. A musical sound that vibrates at 440 Hz will have the same absolute pitch no matter what instrument it's played on. On a piano, the A4 is located here, and it sounds like this. On the Numbiano, the A4 is located here, and it sounds like this. But here is where the main fundamental difference between the Numbiano and other instruments lies. On the Numbiano, we don't give this musical sound the absolute name of A4. Instead, depending on which tonal centre the Numbiano is set, this A4 absolute pitch can have one of 12 different names. The name that the pitch is given tells us how it is related to the tonal centre, and this is where the term relative pitch comes from. When we change the tonal centre, even though the numbers on the Numbiano change, the underlying absolute pitches always stay the same. And if we were to name the buttons on the Numbiano in an absolute way, they would be given these names. These are the underlying absolute pitches that match the letter names played on other standard instruments. Even though we don't use these absolute pitch letter names to describe the Numbiano buttons, it's important to know that they exist and that they're there. So how does the Numbiano communicate relative pitch? Firstly, the Numbiano communicates relative pitch by making it really obvious at all times where the tonal centre is. The tonal centre in which the Numbiano is set is always given the number 1, and it's always red. The tonal centre of a piece of music is the most important musical sound in that piece of music. It's the pitch that makes the music sound at home. It's also the pitch that can be played as a drone throughout the entire piece of music. For example, when we press the C tonal centre button at the top of the Numbiano screen, the 3 number 1s that we see all have the underlying absolute pitch of C. The one in a square is a C2, the one with nothing around it is a C3, and the one with a circle around it is a C4. The number 1, or tonal centre, is the most important pitch in the whole Numbiano layout. Secondly, the Numbiano communicates relative pitch by using red and blue number buttons to communicate how the underlying absolute pitches relate to the tonal centre at any moment in time. Blue number buttons indicate that the underlying absolute pitch has a minor relationship with the 1. And red number buttons indicate that the underlying absolute pitch has a major or perfect relationship with the 1. When the tonal centre is set to C, for example, the underlying absolute pitch of G is given the red 5 number button, and this shows that it has a perfect fifth relationship with the 1. The absolute pitch of A sharp is given the blue 7 button, to show that it has a minor seventh relationship with the 1. And the absolute pitch of B is given the red 7 button to show that it has a major seventh relationship with the tonal centre 1. Here are the 12 possible relationships between all of the buttons and the tonal centre red 1. If we now change the tonal centre to E by pressing the E tonal centre button at the top of the Numbiano screen, you can see that all of the numbers changed their position. This is because all of the underlying absolute pitches are now given names that tell us how they relate to the absolute pitch of E, instead of how they relate to the absolute pitch of C. It is now the absolute pitch of E that receives the number 1 button, because it's the tonal centre, and now all other underlying absolute pitches now receive number buttons that relate to this new number 1 button. The absolute pitch of C now is given the blue 6 button to show that it has a minor 6th relationship with the new tonal centre. The absolute pitch of G is now given a blue 3 button to show that it has a minor 3rd relationship with the new tonal centre. The absolute pitch of B is now given the red 5 button to show that it has a perfect 5th relationship with the new tonal centre. And the absolute pitch of A sharp is given a blue 5 button to show that it's a tritone relationship with the new tonal centre. Here are the 12 possible relationships between all of the buttons and the tonal centre red 1. The third way that relative pitch is communicated is by the different shapes that tell the user which octave they need to play. The octave in the middle has nothing around the numbers, the high octave uses circles, the low octave uses squares, the very high octave uses triangles, and the very low octave uses pentagons. Why is relative pitch so powerful in terms of playing and understanding music? When we look at a pitch in terms of how it relates to the other pitches that have come before and are going to come after it, we get a greater understanding of why a song sounds the way it does. Understanding relative pitch allows us to analyse a song in terms of its unique number note sequence and then play it with any tonal centre. Understanding relative pitch enables us to quickly work out what pitches are available to us at any moment in time so that we can improvise. Also, analysing a song in terms of relative pitch allows us to discover what numerical sequences work well and then how we might be able to use these in our own musical compositions. In the coming videos, we're going to explore all of these topics and discover just how powerful the Numbiano is.